Hey everyone, this is Joe Rule with Raconteur Animation, and today I wanted to talk about the top 4 situations where 3D animation is especially effective to promote and market your new technological development or your product. Okay, number 1. This is probably the most common situation where 3D is useful and perhaps where it shines the most. It's when your innovative product doesn't actually exist yet. In other words, when you're still in the design and prototyping phase, you do not have an actual physical product to photograph or demonstrate for your investors or your customers, but you still need some way to market and advertise it. A good example for this type of project that we've worked on is with the Bombex project by ULC Robotics and Facebook Connectivity. And in early 2019, early in the project, all they had was a conceptual CAD design, and we were able to create an animation from that CAD model, and it helped Facebook pitch investors on the general concept of the robot and how it could wind fiber optic cable and cross different obstacles on a power line. And then over the next 2 years, as the engineers created new versions of the robot, we made new animations to show their investors how the design was evolving to solve different problems with different types of power lines, insulators, and obstacles. Then finally last year in July 2020, when Facebook and ULC finally went public with their working prototype, Raconteur was able to make renders and animation to help them generate traction in the press release and different publications. And a couple of other examples of these kinds of animated prototype projects are with Butterfly's earbuds and another project from ULC called the RRES. Okay, number 2, the second instance when 3D animation is particularly useful is when the most important features and the selling points of your product are actually too small to see. And this is most common with nanotechnology and chemical design and biotech, where these groundbreaking technological developments actually happen at a microscopic level. A great example of this type of project that we've worked on is with Solarlytics. And the core of their technology revolves around how a photoelectron interacts with a solar panel. So photographs or video weren't really a feasible way in this instance to show the difference that their technology makes in the solar industry. So we worked with their marketing agency, Big Minnow, to develop this sort of visual language of photoelectrons flying through space and being trapped and released on the surface of a solar panel. And these animations, along with videos of their team, have helped make their technology and the scientific concepts easier to understand for their sort of general audience. And they used the entire video with their public announcement of the technology and with the launch of their website. A couple other notable projects in this area of microscopic technology that we've worked on have been for microarmor, antiviral coating, and also for acero industrial coatings. Okay, number 3, the third instance where 3D is especially effective is when your technological innovation happens underground or underwater or even in space, where it's difficult or impossible to use regular cameras to record what it's doing. Probably the best example of this type of project that we've worked on is with deep isolation. They developed a system for storing hazardous nuclear waste by drilling miles and miles underground. And certain parts of the technology could be photographed above ground, but the most important features of the system relate to the drill hole casing, the drilling angle, and all these layers of bedrock that really could only be shown with animation. And the animation that we put together for them has worked really well for them on their website and also in pitches to investors. A couple other good examples of this type of project are these images with Sysbot, which is another project by ULC Robotics, and Starlink. Okay, lastly, the fourth scenario where 3D is especially useful, and it's another very common one, is when you cannot actually see inside your machine or your product to where the most important things happen. And this is often the case with industrial equipment, with complex machinery, or systems of tanks that are filled with fluids where you can't really video or photograph the inside. And probably the best example of this type of project that we've worked on is with Morris and Associates chilling equipment. Their technological innovations usually happen inside of some cooling tanks or chillers where it's really inaccessible to get at with a video camera. Also, though the results of what they are doing in their machines are really drastic, the innovation that they make in the equipment is not very visually interesting, with things related to thermal or structure stress that happens over periods of months or years. So with 3D, we're able to pull the machines apart and see the most important features inside, but also exaggerate and illustrate these subtle details so their customers can understand the years of experience and engineering that goes into making their equipment just the best it can. And print trace systems, GFI and LMC in the agricultural and oil and gas industries are other examples of similar instances, similar projects that Raconteur has worked on where 3D was useful in a similar sort of way. So those are 4 ways that 3D might be able to help make your technological innovation or your product a success. If one of these applies to you, or if you have any questions for us, please drop a comment below or get in touch at our main website, raconteuranimation.com. And we'd really love to help you out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.